Colin down here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. It's been a little while since we sort of sat down and did some reactions together, and we're going to do that now. Taking a look at a band I've never heard of, a band with 367 subscribers. So it tells you a bit about the size of the band. It's Fleshwater with their track Foreign. Explain, Dan, because I don't know anything.
Sharing some members with Vane. You've heard of them. This album was released less than a week ago, and it is my personal album of the year. Sharing a lot of similarities with Vane and bands like I don't know how to describe them, like Soul Blind, World of Pleasure.
Well, what are we doing? Are we talking like post-hardcore, hardcore, deathcore, pop punk, indie, black metal, death metal?
No, none of them. I think it's best to just listen to them because I can't.
That's fine. Genres are there to pigeonhole a band. If you're genre defying, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure we'll pick up elements as we go through it. Yeah, I know nothing about this band, so I'm literally doing this on Dan's recommendation. So let's get going in 3, 2, 1, go. That's interesting, because that seemed like an ending point. And how about to carry on with another half song? Okay, there it is. That's it. 5 minutes and 5 seconds. That long because of an extra bit of unnecessary fucking around at the end. But hey, each to our own. I don't really get the extended, almost minute-long outro. I think you could have shortened that and still had the same effect with that bassy thrum and those kind of eerie effects that kind of see it out, but been a bit shorter. Particularly, as I said, around the 2:50 mark, near 3-minute mark, I felt actually like the song was done. Don't get me wrong, as it carried on, it still held my interest. It wasn't like a repeat of just what we'd heard in the first minute or two. So I think there was enough interesting stuff going on there to kind of keep my attention. I can place this in genres to some degree. I'm going to try and be a smartass about this and pick up what I heard there. So yes, of course, unsurprisingly, particularly based off your taste, it's no surprise that of course this has post-hardcore elements in it. It's there, it's clear, it's really easy to identify. However, what kind of shakes it up and where it makes it difficult, I think, is that particularly early on in the song, it clears up as it goes through. It's got a very dissonant feel to it. There's a fair amount of fuzz and feedback going on in the instruments. It's enough to make it feel dirtier and grimier and more raw than perhaps it actually is. It doesn't sound like an accident. It sounds like a purposeful thing. It's not poor playing. It's not poor instruments. It's not bad recordings, mixing, or anything like that. It's clearly what they're designed to do. That's totally fine. Where things get complicated, I think, more as well as when you have the vocals, because of how they're sung and how they work. You have your, let's be honest, bog standard box ticking post-hardcore style vocals, you know, that kind of thing. Where you get these kind of dreamy, clean, sort of echoey vocals going on, that's where things get interesting. And there are a lot of layered effects going on here and there. That makes me think almost of like a shoegazy style thing, but not shoegaze itself, because for me, shoegaze is a complex sort of term that doesn't always sum up music accurately, but I certainly think there's influences here. The one that I'm really struggling with the most, and the one I'm like, am I imagining it? Am I picking it up? Is it just something that I've, yeah, excuse the interruption and that cut. That's because a really noisy leaf blower started blowing outside Dan's window and made a mess of the video. So we cut it there and I'm coming back here mid-rant. I was saying that I got undertones of kind of a grungy sound. It's very lowbrow. It's very kind of dirty, dark, and in it. It's got a, but like, again, like I use that term loosely because you use the term grunge, and I automatically, my head starts to think of bands like Nirvana. I'm like, it's nothing like that. Nothing like that. That kind of grunge. It's there. It's basically, as we said at the start, it's no surprise that I consider this a genre-bending track. I think predominantly people said to me, look, what kind of music is? I say, look, it's post-hardcore. To a degree. If you wanted me to put it into something specifically, that's what I would go with. I'd say post-hardcore with a twist. Maybe as well the album, because this is one track, maybe the album's got a bit more variety than necessarily. I haven't heard the album, I've only heard this one single track, and I did like it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't love it. You call it like you said this album is maybe your best of the year, that kind of thing. Based on this track, I'd be like, I could probably understand why if there was more like this, why it's a very good album. I can't really point at anything obvious that I loved or disliked. You see what I mean? Like I do really like the fuzziness. I do like that kind of dissonant feel. I like how it felt grimy. It felt like, you know, it was coming from dark places and stuff like that. I enjoyed that aspect of it. I like the more ambient side of it rather than, say, the post-hardcore sort of side of it as well, I think. But yeah, there's just nothing that I can say outright. I went, like, there was no wow moment, if that makes sense. But that doesn't mean that I think it's a bad track. I thought it was a good track.
Yeah, I think this is not the best song on the album.
Right.
But I think it showed off a lot of the kind of elements that I enjoyed of the album, which is why I showed it to you. But as well, for me, this is my album of the year personally, because there's better songs on it that I enjoy much more. But it's also like an aesthetic thing. Like the music videos are absolutely beautiful and stunning. The way they just kind of came out of nowhere for me.
Okay.
And like the woman's singing voice, she features on, like, she's like on most of the songs, and I love her voice and her singing. But yeah, definitely, if you've got half an hour, give the album a listen. It's called "We're Not Here to Be Loved." I think it's genuinely wonderful. I don't entirely agree with your post-hardcore thing. Maybe based off this one song, but it doesn't have a lot of that heaviness in a lot of the album.
The overall album, yeah.
Yeah, I'd struggle
Yeah,
to
that's the
put them in
problem. I'm
that.
only basing it off the one track in it.
Yeah. I don't know what I'd put them in personally. I just wouldn't. I know genres are there to be
You
kind of
have to. That's the problem. Like I know what you're saying, but when it comes to, I completely agree with you. I'm not a fan of this whole pigeonholing either. It's why I've referred to it as we slot people into a box. We need you to belong there. But the problem is that has to happen to some degree, because how you have when it comes to selling your band, be it via an email, be it via a press release, be it via a simple description of social media. Say writing we play anything and everything. I mean, the problem is you've got to appeal to a certain set of fans to begin with. These guys, I'm going to give them a cursory Fleshwater band. All right, let's see what we've got. Okay,
so like
so Twitter,
post-hardcore shoegaze. Like,
yeah, Fleshwater on Twitter. Fleshwater play a mixture of currently trendy grunge and shoegaze sounds. What else we got? Yeah, further down, the grunge gaze band. Discogs, 3-piece post-hardcore shoegaze alternative group. So I mean, like, it happens whether we like it or not. At least I got some of that right though, based off that one song. Woo! Yeah, I'd be intrigued to know more about this band. We'll certainly still see going forward. Good choice. What do you think? You a massive fan? Do you agree with Dan in this one, or you like me, not completely sold just yet? Let us know in the comments.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?